Hey guys, this is Toxic. There's an early GTA 6 community Discord that is available to join right now. Link is in description. The Discord will host all community activities such as photography, commentary, competitive, and anything to do with the community. Come build with us by tapping the link below. Thanks for your time and enjoy the video. Bye. Hey guys, this is Toxic, and I'm here to bring you a special interview with one of the greatest players on GTA 5. The one who pioneered and led one of the largest crews on the game to becoming the legend that many of us still talk about to this day. The insane grind and determination to becoming the greatest, from historic and legendary CVC wins to shaping the way people still play to this day. Today, we'll be hearing the story of Darklord.
Don't go over my head, I said it's the best revenge, no stress, I still ain't missed. Could've got round there, put it on social media, ruined his cred. Could've grabbed that bag, put two in his head, but I let God do it instead. They done man wrong, where are they now? Nowhere to be seen. Where they at? The power's strong, where am I now? I've been in the charts for 18 weeks.
When did you start playing run and gun? And what years were the best for you?
Run and gun, I guess, is a PlayStation specific game for GTA. I played on Xbox originally, and I was a very competitive RDR player. That was my favourite game. I actually prefer that game to GTA, even though I was probably a lot better at GTA. And I think the servers in Red Dead got hacked, or they crashed. I can't remember what it was, but there was something that caused me to start playing GTA, and I actually joined. Back then it was considered late when I started playing it. I think it was 2014 sometime, maybe within 6 months before the next gen came out for GTA. And I played with King Mamba, if you know who that is. We were very good friends on Red Dead, and we transitioned to GTA and made a GTA crew, and we were just learning the game. We met Pig Jam and Vitzy and those crews, and we started playing them and learning the game and getting better and better. And then I decided to go to PlayStation 4, and the competitive was a little bit different over there. Like, that's where they started calling it run and gun. I saw YouTube videos from PS3 whilst I was playing Xbox, and saw that they had a slightly different rule set to Xbox. I went there with a couple of Xbox players, and I think at the start, if I remember correctly, I helped one of my friends' crews. It was called Fate, because a lot of my best players, yeah, the Purge. By the end of Xbox GTA 5, I had a very, very good team of players in OTG. I basically made OTG on Xbox. At that point, when I made OTG, I was very confident in the game. I was probably like top 5 players at the point on Xbox. I can't remember if I was considered the best, but I was one of the best at that point. And I made OTG, and the point of it was to have, I took some of the best players that I knew, the very best players on the game. This was always the point of OTG. I always wanted it to be like a small crew. We would only have the best of the best players. That's what it originally was. And I had maybe 10 members from Xbox, and I think I was the only one that went to PlayStation, so I didn't have a team, so I just helped the other Xbox guys.
Now, I know some of your first videos were from Red Dead Redemption 1, and I was just wondering, kind of like Vitzy, how he came from GTA 4 with the Jedi mind tricks, buzzard montages and whatnot. Did you come strictly from Red Dead Redemption 1, or did you have any history on GTA 4, if you can go into that?
No, I actually talk about this all the time with, I don't know how many original OTG players you know, but do you know of Headliner?
Yeah. I've seen some videos about him.
Headliner's a very, very, very old school Rockstar player, and he was one of the best GTA 4 players, and I met him on PS4, and I'm still very good friends with him now. But I never played GTA 4, and I always debate with him. He says that GTA 4 took more skill than Red Dead, but I only played Red Dead. I played Red Dead religiously, probably even more than I played GTA, if that's possible. 3 years when I was a kid, and then I transitioned to GTA because the servers died.
So on Red Dead Redemption 1, you were in this crew called Lords or Legends of Red Dead, which was the #1 public TDM crew on Red Dead 1. And then you transitioned to GTA 5, and you wanted to create your own crew. How was that transition from leaving Lords into making your own crew, and what was the stepping stone into doing that?
So Lord on Red Dead was like, I guess, the OTG of Red Dead on Xbox RDR. Like, there was 2 separate communities on Red Dead, just like there was GTA. So there was like a PlayStation community and an Xbox community, and on Xbox, Lord were, to be honest, the whole concept, thinking about it, of OTG was like completely inspired by Lord, because Lord had a very small group of players that were the best on the game, and it took me a while to get into that team, and they would only have the top of the top players. So when I came to GTA, I think the crew that I made that you're probably referring to was called Real, and that had, I made it with Mamba, like literally for fun, to try and learn the game, and we just wanted to play everyone and CVC everyone. And then that was just because I knew because of how good I was at Red Dead, I would get, to me when I was watching videos of the GTA competitive, I thought it was very, what's the word, like, I actually honestly can't remember who got us into it, because there was a reason that me and Mamba went to it. We knew there was a competitive, but it was somebody that Mamba knew that got us into it, and then we discovered Vitzy and Pig Jam. The first time I actually met Vitzy was because I met, I think it was some of Pig Jam's players from PBNK. I think I met them in a death match or a party or something, and they were telling us about UTLX and that they're kind of like the big team on Xbox and stuff. So the first ever time I met Vitzy when I was a kid, I managed to get an invite to a UTLX party, and I just went in there and I was going crazy at him, asking him for 1v1s and CVCs, calling him trash, and like, just trying to start shit with him for no reason at all. I didn't know him at all. He was pretty toxic back then too, though. It was very different. It was very different. That was one of the main things I noticed going to PlayStation from Xbox, is the communities were very, very different. I think I probably did a lot to change the PlayStation community to be a little bit closer to what Xbox was. But on Xbox, you would talk shit with the sole purpose of getting somebody in a lobby to play you. And on Xbox, we'd play. A lot of them weren't uploaded because I didn't actually care about YouTube. I just wanted to be the best on the game and like beat everyone. That was like the whole purpose of me playing. But on Xbox, we would CVC every single day. The biggest teams as well, they'd CVC every single day. Like, we'd play each other all the time. Like, there wasn't on PlayStation in the early days, there was like a big Facebook page that people used to talk shit on, and there was a lot of talk, and there was like alliances and all this.
So talking about getting into competitive lobbies, in an old video of yours, I've seen that you were talking about possibly creating LAN tournaments and trying to turn it into more of like an esports type of thing. And this was way in the beginning of GTA 5. Now, I've spoken to many people about how we would even possibly create a LAN tournament type of situation. In your words or in your thoughts, how do you think we could possibly even make that happen? And how do we even get Rockstar's attention to possibly even do something like that?
I can't remember even talking about that, but that is something that would be a good scale up of the community, but I don't think it'd be possible because Rockstar, like the competitive in all Rockstar games that I've played has very much been like community driven rules, and that's not something that kind of normally works in esport. It has to be like an in-game parameter set, like, you know, they've got to build it so that you don't have to tell people to not corner shoot, and you don't have to rely on the trust of other players to not use RPGs and not hide behind walls and do glitches and things like that. But that was kind of the beauty of run and gun in the community, is that it was tens of thousands of players that all agreed to do the same rule set and made it fun. But I don't think it would ever reach LAN, also because it's auto aim, and I think although the people that have played at a high level in auto aim know the skill it takes, it's not translatable. The amount of debates that I've had with people that have no idea how much skill it took to be one of the best in the world with auto aim, like, talk about it as if it took no skill. You're just aiming up at the head and that's it. So I think getting it to like a big audience or LAN tournaments would be like a huge difficulty. Probably wouldn't happen.
The live streams in the beginning of GTA 5 were, you know, they were big at the time. They had 10 to 15,000 viewers. And with GTA 6 around the corner and how large it's going to be and how YouTube has grown more and the viewership of GTA has grown more, the tournaments that Rockstar hosts in the beginning will definitely get more recognition. You know, just YouTubers spectating and YouTubers making commentary videos over the tournaments. It just takes OTGx, RNGK, or Gods to get in there and show what we got, to get noticed by those type of people, where we can possibly grow it into something larger than public TDM and CVCs. Maybe we can try to get a LAN tournament out of it, you know?
The players that were actually the best at the game when it was in its prime were all kind of similar. Like, none of us had YouTube aspirations. I was probably, me and Gold, I mean, Gold wasn't ever really like a competitive player. He was, I guess, the closest to a YouTuber back then, where he would make montages and videos to get views and entertain people. But other than him, it was like all the people that I would consider maybe the top 10 best players on the game back then when it was in its first kind of 2 years on next gen were just trying to be the best at the game. They didn't have motivations to be famous or make money from it or do big things. It was all about just playing, enjoying the competitiveness of it. I would much rather, back then anyway, beat the other better rivals I had on the game than get a video that had 100k views. That didn't really bother me. I liked doing montages and stuff because I liked showing people that I thought I was the best, and I wanted other people to confirm that and tell me how good I was, but it was never for views or money or like recognition of growing a channel or anything, or else I would have probably tried a lot harder.
Now that you've mentioned Gold Revolver, just going back to him and his interview he did with Feng Shui, in that video he mentioned that he was the main reason that you went to PlayStation from Xbox, and then in the comments you said that he was not the main reason that you went over to PlayStation. And after speaking with Vitzy, I kind of got the gist of the main reason you went over there was to pioneer the Xbox versus PlayStation and settle the arguments with that. Some people see you as the driving force for that. Now, I want to hear from you. What was the real reason you went to PlayStation from Xbox? Why did you leave us?
I mean, it wasn't because of Gold Revolvers. It also wasn't to pioneer anything. I mean, me and Gold Revolvers actually had quotation mark beef since very, very early, like before people would even know. Like, he had 100 subscribers and I had 50 subscribers on Red Dead. And if you go back to, I'm sure you'd be able to find it, like some of my early little shitty Red Dead videos, you'll see him commenting on it when he had like 100 subscribers, saying that Xbox is trash and he'd beat us, and I'm replying back like, I'll buy a PlayStation right now, 1v1 you. And I actually did do that back then. I bought a PlayStation 3 and I tried to 1v1 him and he wouldn't play me. I don't think he was a big 1v1 player on Red Dead. 1v1s were a big thing on Red Dead. They were a lot different to GTA. They were very like high skilled, and there was a whole community for 1v1s, whereas I think GTA didn't really have that too much because they weren't as competitive, I'd say. But I went to PlayStation literally because I saw that there was a lot more people there in the community. There was like a Facebook page. The original one was called GTA 5 Battle Group, I think, and it had 30,000 people in it, even when GTA came out on PlayStation 4. And I saw that Gold was getting like good views. He had a lot of people commenting, and clearly there was a lot of people playing, and there was a few other guys that were uploading videos that were just getting a lot more views, and I could tell that the community was bigger. And mainly I saw arrogantly kind of that I thought that I was probably better than them. It annoyed me that I thought back then that the best players on Xbox were clearly better competitively, because we played a lot more competitive. We played CVCs all the time. Like, they didn't do that very much. They kind of had the best crews never played each other, and if they did, it was like a once a 6-month occasion. Like, I am an Xbox player because I started Rockstar Games. I'll always be an Xbox kind of original player. That's where I started, and I would have stayed there if the community was bigger. But out of the best players during the prime of the game, more of them were PlayStation players. Like, if it wasn't for me going there and being very good and challenging them, and even my best players in OTG, most of them were not from Xbox. I had a few. It was more so because it was a shame because the best players from Xbox other than me didn't get a PlayStation 4 early. So like the Fate guys that I were playing with, they were not high level. I'm still friends with a lot of them, but they were like, most of them were just really chill guys that had a lot of money, and they just bought the game and they were just chilling, and they liked playing competitive, but they weren't super serious. Like I was playing like 8 hours a day when I was in school, and I was really trying to be the best, whereas they were kind of just chilling, playing public matches. They play CVCs, but they weren't too concerned in the party, shouting at everyone like, you need to get better, you need to train, you need to do this. But the other best players that were similar to me kind of stayed on Xbox because they didn't have the money.
Now, in all of GTA, in your opinion, who was the best crew and who was the best player?
I mean, I wouldn't narrow it down to like a person individually. I think there was a group of players that if I had enough time I could write a list of from, I mean, the best era of GTA for me, obviously, because it was when I was at my best, but also I think it would want to, the reason the players that were the best in 2014, 2015, and kind of in 2016 as well, that's where it sort of started to die off a little bit, are still talked about and remembered, is because that was the period of time where the game was new. and everybody had the level playing field. So the players that were the best then, everybody that was playing, you've got to imagine, had the same 2-year period to reach a certain level. So the guys who stood out back then stood out a lot more than maybe the guys that do now, that have been playing for the last 7 years straight, some of them, and have caught up in skill, but that's because all of the actual best players stopped playing. So the best, like, one of the most underrated players from back then, he still gets a lot of recognition, but my partner that was at his best during like, my best period was 2015 probably. Like, that year 2015 was the year that I was like, you could probably ask Feng Shui, he remembers that period, but I was dominating people.
Because based off of every other player, they'll say Darklord, you know, based off the accolades and the transition that you did. So I think it'll be very interesting just to hear who you think the best player is.
Duarte is my answer.
Duarte.
In 2015, it was literally me and, in my opinion anyway, obviously a lot of bias here, but me and him were so dominant compared to any other kind of players on the game. Like, we had, I remember party chats where we were with an RNGK player and one of his friends, it was Gregdium, and another Greek guy who wasn't in RNGK, I think he was called Superspal or something like that. He was a known player back then, but they joined our party and were telling us that they thought that we were the 2 best players on the game, and they were in RNGK because we were just wiping people out. But Duarte was very, very good as well. Me and him used to play like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and nobody wanted to play us. We struggled to get CVCs with any big team, and we actually, at that period, we were trying to play RNGK, and they literally told us, you two play too much. Like, we're not playing you because you play far more than us.
Okay, now speaking of 2015, on how that's your favorite era, is there any memorable moments such as CVCs, 1v1s, or anything like that that you could tell me?
The biggest actual CVC win I didn't even upload to my channel, or maybe it's the best in terms of competitive high-level players. There was a CVC that we did that would have actually been legendary and got massive views if I was bothered to upload it, but I was so arrogant at the time because we were just beating everybody that I didn't even upload it, and I put it's actually in a video. I think I did an update video where I was talking and I mentioned it and I showed the screenshots of the CVC, but it was OTG against Devo. It was during a period when me and Duarte had literally, because they didn't want to play us, we just made friends with the best RNGK players and we were good friends with them because we had tried playing them and they didn't play us, so we just became very close with some of them, like Clutch Kid and 2Co. We had a group chat on Facebook that was called like OTGK or something, and it had some of the best players from OTG and RNGK, and we played a CVC, me, Duarte, Clutch Kid and 2Co under OTG against Devo, and the Devo team were the best other 4 face-to-face players at the time. I think it was, I'm gonna have to try and remember this, it was like Alain, Alejandro, I think it was Gregdium, and it was a Latino player, I can't even remember his name, but they were considered the 4 best face-to-face players outside of OTG, and we beat them by 1 kill on the first map, and then we beat them the second map, pistols, and they beat us on the third map in rifles, and it was a really good CVC. And me and Duarte did so good, like we MVP'd both pistol maps. I think I did the first and we tied for kills on the second one, and it would have been a good video, but I didn't upload it. The other one that I liked was that was my favorite moment actually, was when we played, do you remember the video where I played RNGK and I helped a group of Brazilian players and I got like nearly a 2 KD on Beachfront against RNGK? RNGK were notorious for not playing anyone good, and that's why that video did well, because they were kind of a very protected team.
Yeah.
Their whole thing was not to play everybody and prove they were the best. Their thing was like, we're gonna they had an alliance called the Empire Alliance at the start of PlayStation, and they had a collective of like 4 or 5 crews that were the biggest from PlayStation at that time, and what they do is select the 2 or 3 best players from each of those crews, and they would join RNGK and kind of be just like famous players, but they would only CVC small crews and not very good crews, so they know they'd always win and it'd be good for videos and stuff. But this Brazilian team, TCFX, I think it's called, you'd know it, it's one of the bigger videos on my channel, but they messaged me last minute and said, yo, we've got a CVC against the real RNGK right now, get online and we'll invite you to the crew and you can come help us. And I was like, fuck, they have been avoiding me for so long, I'll just do that. What's the worst that can happen? I'll get a good score and we lose. And I got on and we planned it because we knew they would leave if I joined the lobby. So they all got in the lobby and started the CVC and everybody was in it. And then I was the last name to join. And I think it was John Killer was the host, and he invited me and was like, okay, wait 10 seconds and then join. And I joined, and then he started the map instantly. So they were all discussing it in the party, because I know it was Duarte and Clutch Kid were playing for RNGK at the time, and they told me after, like a few years after, but they were all discussing like, is that really Darklord? Because I had a different account, not my main one, but it was called TheRealDarkLord Dash. And they didn't know if it was like a fanboy or if it was actually me, so they were like, fuck it, let's just play it. And then somehow I played out of my mind on the first map and we won it, and everybody else on my team went negative, and I went positive enough that we actually won. And then we won the third map and we beat them, and that was like the first RNGK loss. I was a very hyped man that day.
Now, based off of all the CVCs that you've had, could you tell us the importance of teamwork, coordination, chemistry during one of those important CVCs?
In GTA, it wasn't, I don't know, the chemistry part maybe, but the actual tactics on GTA wasn't crazy. If you played Red Dead competitive, there was a lot more teamwork and overloading sides of the map, and having somebody that spawn trapped, and having somebody that went for an objective, and having a slayer that would go for kills and things like that. But in GTA, it was literally get the most talented players possible that play the most amount of time, so they're always match fit, I guess. Like, you had to play a lot to be able to beat the other best players, and you would get as many of them as you can on your side, and you just out skill people. It was kind of always on GTA, it was almost like you'd get yourself into 1v1 situations, 1v2 situations, 1v3 situations in CVCs, and you'd need the best players on the game to win those, and that's how you'd win games.
So how did you gain the eye of finding people and knowing that they were going to be great? Like, how did you gain that?
It wasn't so much that I found people that were already finished products and already the best on the game. That was very rare, because I obviously came to PlayStation after there had already been 2 years of PS3, and everybody had, all of the best players from PS3 had established crews. When I came to PS4, I was kind of like enemy number one for all of them, and I found a team from PlayStation 3. I think I found them on YouTube, and I saw that they were the only crew that were actually trying to beat the Empire Alliance crews, and they were called WSGV, and Duarte was in that crew, Headliner was in that crew, and there was another guy who you probably don't know, but he was an original player. He was called Avenge Finn, and he was really good at the start for at least the first year. And I kind of got in contact with them. I can't remember how, it might have been through the Facebook page or something. I started playing with them, and basically what I ended up doing with most of my players is I trained them and I taught them things and I made them better. Like, Duarte was nowhere near a top level player because of how he was playing, and he didn't have the most confidence, and he actually looked up to Gold Revolvers and Tuco and all those guys quite a lot. He's a few years younger than me, so when I was like 15, 16, 17, he would have been like 12, 13, 14, and he like loved Gold's YouTube videos and things like that. And when it came round to us playing them, he was always really scared because he'd like idolized them for a few years, and I always used to have to talk him into it. But basically what I did is I taught some of them the settings of the game. That was really important to me. I was a bit of a Professor Sweat with the settings of the game, and I discovered standard FPS2. I think I was the first one. Like, if you go on my channel, the day the game came out on PlayStation 4, definitely the first week, I made a video on FPS2 and the benefits I thought it would have to run and gun, and I taught a lot of my players FPS2 early, the ones that couldn't play Claw, and taught them how to play with that. And the next level up was when they added button assignments to PlayStation 4, and I switched the left trigger with L1 so that you could aim with L1 on standard FPS2 and still shoot with R2 and sprint with R1. And I taught Duarte that, I taught Giuseppe that, I actually taught King Mamba FPS2 and how to play with it. We kind of just played together in private lobbies all the time and publics, and I progressively got them better, a lot of them. Obviously when OTG got bigger and was more established on PlayStation, I was able to pick up already very good players like Kako Gamer and Vice City was a bit later on, but he joined. But at the start, it was more or less finding people that I thought would try hard enough to learn and then teaching them.
Now, through all the accomplishments and successes, going to the CVCs and the 1v1s, is there anything that you may regret that you wish you could erase from the past?
Not really. Like, I was pretty horrible about them, but so was everybody. Like
yeah,
the level of toxicity in that community was insane, which I don't mind because everybody was like that. But it was like, I said some crazy shit back then. I said some crazy stuff all the time. Like, but everybody was doing it. I wasn't like a standout player, but it was a lot of shit talking. Like, you'd go after people's families, like you'd go on their Facebooks and screenshot their kids and talk shit about their kids, and they'd do it to you. Like, I had to turn privacy settings on for my mum's Facebook because people were messaging her.
Yeah, I totally understand that. In GTA 5 beginning, I really wasn't too deep into the community, but in Red Dead Redemption 2, joining God's or joining Vitzi's crew and being at the top of the competitive scene, there was a lot of toxicity, trust me, and I can't even imagine how toxic GTA 5 was because Red Dead was much smaller, so the Red Dead toxicity was already crazy in itself.
And then times that by 100 because GTA in its prime
GTA was bigger.
Now, speaking of Red Dead Redemption 2, we didn't really see much of you on that game, and what happened there?
The problem with Red Dead 2 that made it flop horribly is that it had good fundamentals to be a good competitive game, and the first week of playing, like, if you go on my channel, the first video I made on Red Dead 2 was a montage of clips from the first day that I played the game, and I was getting like 60 kills and 3 deaths every lobby and stuff like that, and it was fun, but we gave up on it because they didn't have private matches, they didn't have create your own maps, they didn't have like perk blockers, so the headshot eating perk is what killed it for us. That's when I think I reached like level 200 nearly. Duarte was playing it with me, Clutch Kid was playing it, and a few of the other OTG guys, and it was fun in public because we were so dominant compared to like average players trying to play the game. You would just get like a 50 KD every match, but the actual competitive, I saw no tangible future for it really because of those missing things they didn't add to it. But it could have been a good game, but Rockstar didn't implement the things necessary to make it actually competitive. You'd have to jump through a lot of loopholes to make it fun.
Did you guys ever do large CVCs on RDR2? Because the way that we set it up is we would slowly get one by one into a showdown series and slowly kick people out until we had a full AV8. Since we had no private matches. Did you guys do that?
No. Fuck no. I'm not doing that.
It was pretty fun once we got everything set. That's what we did in the Gods vs. Lords CVC, but it was just so troublesome.
The sad thing for you that is maybe why I jumped quicker off of that game, not only because I had experience of primetime GTA, but also the main one is that Red Dead Redemption 1 was by far, and I think it will always be, the best competitive Rockstar game to ever exist. And they had private matches. It felt like the maps were actually designed for some sort of competitive CVC mode. The weapons were great, the movement was incredible, the Deadeye system was like amazing. The game modes were amazing.
Yeah,
RDR2 in comparison to Red Dead 1 was like nothing. It was a shit stain, so that put me off it massively because I thought when the game came out, I was obviously so excited the months leading up to it, thinking this is going to be like the next Red Dead. Red Dead 1 is my favorite game ever, and it just didn't live up to that. So after like 2 or 3 weeks, I just decided I'm not putting the effort in to try and make this competitive because it's clearly not.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how Rockstar flopped that bad with RDR2. With the hack card, slow and steady, slippery, and then having no private matches. And they got to the point where we would try to do a feud, but it wouldn't even allow us to do it in a city like Armadillo.
It was pretty obvious what happened, but they made like a complete masterpiece of a single player experience, and it took them a long time. And that was probably like Red Dead 2 is probably the most impressive single player open world everything Rockstar game to ever exist. But they just decided that they didn't want to invest the same time and energy and money into the multiplayer, so they made a very basic multiplayer that they didn't really care if it took off because they knew that the single player was big enough to get incredible sales and reviews, and nobody's going to care about the multiplayer, so they just they didn't invest in it. They were still, I think a lot of it was because they're still making millions probably every week off of GTA at that time, and they were still updating GTA and adding new shit. So they didn't feel probably the incentive to put the same amount of effort into Red Dead when they still had their like main game popping off online, still had a huge player base, and they probably kept a lot of their development teams. I don't know how it works, but I'm guessing they still put a lot of money into GTA at that time.
And that's why I'm very excited for GTA 6, because based off of GTA 5 online, they're definitely going to pay attention to the online of GTA 6. And talking about what they're going to be adding to GTA 6, what do you want to see them add to GTA 6 online? Like, I know we spoke about tournaments and whatnot. What else would you like to see on there?
Sadly, I hate to break it to you, but I'm not very optimistic about Rockstar Games competitive going forward. I think it's sadly probably more likely going to get worse every game that comes out because of the mechanics of the game and what they're shooting towards. And each game that comes out, they're trying to get more kind of, it's hard to explain, but they're trying to get more realistic movements and realistic gunfire actions, and with that comes less, what's the word, less predictable gameplay, and you need that. Like, if you look at Red Dead 1, the movement wasn't the most realistic, but you'd have a certain sprint speed, your character would, all the characters would run the same, the guns would shoot the same, there wasn't any kind of bullet drop, and it was very game related, you know, it was like a game, whereas they're trying to get more and more realistic, and I think with that comes stiff movement, slower action.
Yeah, I do remember the beginning of RDR2, they had very stiff, slow movement, but once they did that update which patched the varmint rifle, the movement was insanely fast. They made it very smooth and quick.
Well, the character was fast, but they had, like, the movement on Red Dead 2 was good, it was good enough, but the problem was that they had all of these systems in place where you would have like almost bloom when you shot, you had to use Deadeye to get consistent, accurate headshots a lot of the time. Like, you'd have to pop into Deadeye to know that when you're aiming on the head, the bullet's actually going to fucking hit the head, which is dumb.
Yeah.
You didn't have that in previous Rockstar games, because they're obviously going for like realistic, what would happen in real life if you were in that period shooting a fucking varmint rifle, instead of trying to get consistent, accurate headshots when you're actually aiming at the head. So I think there was good movement, but you had to kind of do things to make the bullets go where you were actually aiming them, which made it dumb.
Now, for GTA 6, should we be expecting Darklord to come back to YouTube and start posting again?
Like I said, I've never really done YouTube to do anything with YouTube, to be honest. I only uploaded because I felt like I was one of the best players on the game, and for a period I felt like I was the best player on the game, and I wanted to share that. But unless the competitive is naturally good on GTA 6, I won't be making a massive effort to upload it, but I'll definitely be buying it the day it comes out. I'll definitely be trying to play it competitively, and if it works, I'll be able to figure it out and I'll play it. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not counting on it. I'm not optimistic that that will even be like the base case for it. I think it's more likely, sadly, that GTA 6 won't be as good competitively as GTA 5 was, or as Red Dead 1 was. I think because of what I said earlier, I just don't see it. But if on the off chance it is competitive and you can play run and gun, and they do have good headshot mechanics and the movement is good enough that there's a skill gap and you can make private lobbies and you can make maps and the community's still there, then I'll 100% be playing it, and OTG will be playing it, and we'll upload videos and stuff. But that's just a case of waiting and seeing how good the actual game is.
Now, after GTA 5 died out, I know you said you've been very busy, with work, but was there any other games that you played religiously, kind of like GTA 5, or what did you do after GTA 5 died out?
I've played loads of games, but I've not played anything competitively. Like, I'm strictly a Rockstar Games player. I've always strictly been a Rockstar Games player since I started gaming and found competitive. That's the only like genre of games that I'd put the amount of time required to be one of the best in the world at. It's only ever been Rockstar Games, and unless another Rockstar Games comes out that is viable to play competitively, then I won't be playing like religiously. I like single player games. Like, I play Elden Ring. I play all sorts of stuff, but I'm not obviously putting in the hours that I did when I was like prime time GTA 5. And yeah, I'd only play competitive on a Rockstar game.
Now, we all know that your crew is OTGx. Now, for the people that don't know who OTGx or who Darklord is, could you tell them, like, what is OTGx?
I made that crew to get the best players that I could find and have a very small group of players that were considered like the most feared, highest level, sweatiest players possible. And the goal of it was to just play everybody that was willing to play us and beat everybody, and people be scared when we joined lobbies. That sounds cringy as fuck saying it now as a 26-year-old, but at the time that was the shit. That was fun. That's what I lived for. And yeah, it was just to have, the name was Only the Greatest, which the point was to have only the greatest players in this crew. It wasn't going to be, I didn't feel like there was any other crews that had that level where they would only accept the best of the best on the game, and that's what I wanted to do. That was my whole goal for it when I made it.
Now, I know leading up to GTA 6, there's going to be no more recruits from GTA 5 to OTGx. Now, if there's someone that's watching this in the future from GTA 6, what would they need to do to join OTGx if they wanted to?
We're not competitively playing GTA 5 because it's dead. I think some of them play it casually here and there, but nothing. Obviously, it's not anywhere near its prime, so I'm not looking to recruit people on a dead game. If you wanted to join OTGx, it was always the same from start to finish. You just had to be a standout, top-level player. I always wanted people to join that kind of had OTG as their focus when they were playing. It wasn't like I'd recruit people that were key members of other massive crews. That's kind of what RNGK did. It was almost like an amalgamation of all of the better players from other crews, and they'd kind of be in those other crews but also sit in RNGK and put on the tag sometimes, but they weren't actually RNGK players. Like 90% of RNGK was made up of players from other crews, and I'd never liked that. I always wanted OTG players to be like strictly OTG.
Now, we are towards the end of the interview. First, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity, you know, just you being here and giving me this time. Now, for my future interviews, is there anybody you would like to see me interview? And if so, what would you like me to ask them?
I don't know. I found the Vitzy interview interesting because I like hearing about people that have come from a similar sort of origin story in Rockstar Games as I have, but there's no one that really stands out. If I was you, I mean, you won't be able to because they're hard players to reach, but players that played in the prime 2014, 2015 that were the best on the game. I mean, Clutch Kid would be a good one. Clutch Kid would be an interesting one because Clutch Kid...
Does he speak English?
Yeah, he speaks English. I'm still good friends with him now, but he was a commissioner in RNGK, and he basically ran RNGK during the prime when Gold Revolvers wasn't too concerned with the game all that much, or at least playing it competitively. So Clutch Kid kind of ran RNGK during the prime until he had a massive falling out with Gold that would be interesting to hear about. I can't really remember the details of it, but he ended up leaving and joining OTG. He was one of the most dominant players during the prime, 100%. He would be in my like top 10 best players during the prime, CVC wise, and getting MVPs constantly. He'd be a good one, and he speaks English. Tuco would be interesting because people don't know too much about him. I didn't speak to him that long ago. I've got him on Facebook, I think, but he was always kind of a mysterious player. He just played to play and wanted to be the best, and he didn't care for YouTube videos or having a channel. He just enjoyed being very good at the game. It's those sort of players that would be interesting. Yeah, he speaks like 3 or 4 languages. He was a really smart guy. He speaks Japanese, he speaks English, he speaks Spanish. I bet I could get Clutch Kid to do it, maybe, but all of these players don't care about this. I mean, this is why I've always been reluctant when people have asked me to talk about it, because I feel cringy talking about it.
Yeah, I understand. The main reason I wanted to do a series like this was to really get the input of past prolific and historic players, just as kind of like a library, so people can come back and listen to it, or people that really have no idea what the past of Run and Gun is, or competitive side of GTA. Now they can come back and really see, and maybe in the future someone wants to come all the way back to these videos just to find out. You know, that's the main reason I'm doing it.
I don't want you're living a normal life, and then you talk about when you played the game for 12 hours a day and were the best in the world at it, and people in real life would probably be like, what the fuck? I don't know this guy.
My girl knows. My girl loves my YouTube and stuff. You know, she supports it.
Yeah, so does mine. She's excited to watch this. She knows a lot of stuff, but It's a good idea, even if it only gets 200-300 views. Sometimes, like, there's always like, I will always be interested in hearing about other players' origin stories and questions about what they did and stuff. It's interesting, but probably for a small niche.
Yeah, I'm just very optimistic about, GTA 6. I feel as if it may blow up, I feel like the competitive scene might actually mean more than what GTA 5 competitive scene was. So I'm just doing what I can, and especially with what gods have in store with our tournaments and our cash prizes, and just trying to do something that we hope we could change the competitive scene into something much bigger,
It's a good idea. You're very optimistic about
library.
GTA 6. I wouldn't get your hopes up that crazy, but you never know.
Yeah. We'll see, I guess.